Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. South African manganese, which is one of the crucial technology metals needed in the US, has made the list of key technology metals that are heading for short supply. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer tells us more. Welcome, Martin.
Hi, Sashnee.
Now, South Africa and Australia provide 100% of the US's manganese supply, but manganese is heading for a short supply. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, it's interesting that these researchers in the United States are looking at what they call technology minerals, technology metals, because, you know, the iPhones, the Teslas, all the electric cars coming up, and, you know, even power to your homes is needing an assured supply of these metals, and they are looking at the supply position and saying it's not assured at all. And fortunately for us, you know, they've named manganese as one of these key metals, which we don't normally associate with the key metals, you know, because manganese goes into the lithium-ion battery, so you think of the lithium, you don't think of the manganese. And we, with Australia, supply 100% of that, so we're in a good position there. I'm not saying it's going to be huge volumes, but it's an important supply that will grow as the way people live in the world changes. And even the Australian side of it, it's been largely grown by South Africans. You know, Gencor was involved in Australia early. Of course, you know, that became BHP Billiton because Gencor, which was our second biggest mining company here, they morphed into Billiton on the London Stock Exchange, and then it became BHP Billiton. And now we're seeing, you know, they're dropping the Billiton. It's become BHP. So it shows you how, you know, South Africa's involvement has been very conscientious and how we've really been shortchanged all over the place. You know, people dropping our the involvement of South Africans and forgetting all about it. But with the manganese, you know, anyone will tell you that when you come to the Northern Cape and you look at those manganese seams, I mean, they're absolutely wonderful from a technical and from a geological point of view and from a quality point of view and the content of the manganese in that. So we're in a fairly strong position, and hopefully, you know, you have this mixture of probably cars being driven by lithium-ion batteries, but also by fuel cells, as we see now with Mercedes coming up. They're saying we need a bit of a hybrid in this fuel cell driven Mercedes, and they're coming out this year with that. We'll have the lithium battery in it, which will give us a 50-kilometer range and can be immediately plugged in anywhere, even in your home, because they haven't really built up the infrastructure yet for the hydrogen fuel cell. They haven't got a lot of infrastructure. We see that Germany has plans to have hundreds of these by 2025. In California, they've also got plans for hundreds of them in the near term. And we even see Japan already got 80 hydrogen fuel stations. So the hybrid of the future could be an electric car that has got the fuel cell, which helps us from the platinum point of view, but has also got the lithium-ion battery, which will help us from the manganese point of view. And I'm glad that these people have pointed to the fact that US should be acutely aware of this, because it's becoming dependent on these metals, but the supply of the metals is not looking that great. And hopefully South Africa won't shoot itself in the foot, because we see, you know, the Ministry of Mineral Resources coming out with Mining Charter 3, which is just causing a standstill in mining at this point, when we should be looking to supply positions and how we can increase those. And maybe this will just alert us to the fact that we must look beyond this ministry, which hopefully will not be there that long, because you know, the way they've hastily brought out this Charter 3 may indicate that they were keener on getting visibility at the African National Congress Policy Conference, maybe more keen to get visibility there than they are about actually bringing in a genuine document.
Now, researchers are calling for a technology metals type treaty. Can you tell us about this?
Yes, you know, you have climate change treaties, you have various treaties around the world where the world as a planet is getting smaller. People are looking at it and seeing what its future is going to be and saying, let's work together, you know, to make sure that we fulfill the Paris Agreement. You have a few exceptions, like the President of the United States, Donald Trump, has decided to turn his back on that, which is really unfortunate, because he has an opportunity for the world to work together for the good of the world. And you have a person like the leader of the United States having the hurtfulness to turn his back on us, turn the back on the world, you know, as if America is more important than the world, not realizing this is part of the world. And when you see those ice caps starting to crack, you know, it's starting to remind you that we need to work together on this, because people who have studied this intensely realize that, you know, you need a sort of a climate change treaty. They've got the Paris Accord, let's go with it. Now, you know, intellectuals in the United States are starting to say, hey, what about the supply of minerals and metals? You know, shouldn't we have some sort of a treaty regarding that? And I think it's important, because in the mining industry, you go through very big cyclical highs and lows. And perhaps if they can start thinking about it a little bit better, you know, you could have a proper supply coming through without the suppliers being hurt in the downturn and all sorts of ownership changes. It's too haphazard as they see it. They're beginning to see, look, we need very important metals and minerals. We need the high-tech arrangements that we've got. And let's have some idea where these are going to come from, with some sort of governance in the countries that we get them from. And if we can't get them from countries that are reliable, let's try and find out where else we can get them from and in what quantities. So perhaps this is the start of thought leadership coming through, because of the feared lack of supply of tech metals that could upset, you know, our future high-tech path.
Now, mining exploration is not keeping up with future demand for minerals, and recycling will also not help meet the demand.
I was very glad that they made that point, you know, academics getting together in the US and also involving people around the world, in South Africa, Australia, Canada, mining destinations, putting their heads together. And you can do this online now. You know, you can have a quick conference online, and then you can have a broader conference online, and you can do a lot of sharing of information online, which is hugely beneficial for the communication side of what happens. And they're saying, look, where's the exploration happening here? You know, there's been a huge lull in exploration. If there's no exploration, there is a threat to supply going forward. You know, can we talk about this? Because we don't want to be caught short like we have been with some of these metals that sort of surge in price. The metal spikes in price, which doesn't do anyone a favor. It doesn't do the suppliers in favor, because the moment the metal price shoots up, they just get scientists to say, hey, find an alternative because we don't want to pay this. And then that hurts developing countries, hurts South Africa as well. So we are still in that mode where we can do well in the mining and metal space. The ministry and the Department of Mineral Resources notwithstanding, you know, these governments do things and they don't always last, or the sections of the government do things don't always last, because particularly in this case it's pretty irrational.
Now, cobalt provides an opportunity for South Africa.
Yeah, you know, cobalt, I mean, really, that was one of the metals listed besides the manganese, which is very South African orientated and which we could talk about quickly. We could also have cobalt. You know, it is an absolute travesty that the cobalt in the platinum group metals is destroyed. You know, at this point where you find cobalt prices rocketing by 76% so far this year, the supplies coming out of the Central African area, particularly Democratic Republic of Congo, a little bit uncertain at the moment, because the world doesn't want to be accused of obtaining metals through child labor and through all sorts of situations that are unhealthy. Now we have got a situation, because of the way we process our platinum, we heat the platinum to such an extent that it kills the cobalt in the process. Now we know that there's a new arrangement. There is a hydrometallurgical approach. It's proven. You know, it's the plants are going to go up. It's been worked on for so many years now that those proposing it know that this works. There've been pilot plants in Australia. There've been smaller plants here. They're going for a commercial plant next year in Northwest. Here we have this, where we can save the cobalt, because the temperature at which you will process the platinum will be so far, it will be negligible in terms of the 1,300 Celsius that it goes to at the moment. And guess what? saves costs. You don't have to spend money on that electricity. So I think that for the sake of our industry, the government needs to press hard now to say to people, look, what about switching to this? We see that, I mean, an errant government like Zimbabwe just latched onto it right away and said, no, we'll do this all over the place. I think they less part of the common good, so it's a bit distasteful. But at the same time, why aren't we doing it here? Why simply saying, this has been partly government funded because the Industrial Development Corporation has partly funded this. So it's even, it's a public-private partnership. Here we have a way of preserving our cobalt, but also producing our platinum in a far lower cost way, and they need low costs at the moment when you look at that platinum price, but also in a way that can prepare us for quicker beneficiation, because it comes out in a refined way, which is an amazing thing. It doesn't have to go through the normal refinery process, and you could start manufacturing products on site virtually. You could say, I want platinum to come out in this form and make auto catalysts, or I want it to come out in another form and have fuel cells, or you can have various products, and that's what they've been looking for the mines to do for so long. So one hopes that there will be a discussion on this instead of these stupid iterations that come out from the ministry at the moment that doesn't seem to know what's potting in the industry and is setting the country back pretty badly.
Thanks for speaking with us,
It's a great pleasure, Sashnee.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.